evening, folks. What's going on? What's up, Zem? What's up, Mizroy? Satellite, Fury? Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Sorry about the slightly late start. I came straight from dinner. Had some delicious Cane's chicken tonight. And mixed up a couple drinks for me and my wife. So, hope you're all doing well. My disposition is much improved from yesterday. Having quite a good day. Reactor Online, Streamer Online, Nintendo Power Online, all chatters nominal. Launching. Epic. Press X to... Look, relative to other things. I think that SNES RPGs can be pretty epic in scope. Final Fantasy III, what we now know as Final Fantasy VI, was a pretty big deal, wasn't it? Also, good evening, PM Collector Boy. Good to see you. Got credits on Blueprints. Congratulations. What was your final assessment of the game? I'm assuming you liked it perfectly well, considering you got all the way through it. What's up, Worst Elephant? Good to see the statement that Final Fantasy III is a perfect example of a mainstream RPG as it has evolved in Japan. It's interesting to me from 1995 as opposed to indie RPGs or the niche RPGs in 1995. Well, I've got the obscure SNES RPG playlist going right now. This song playing right now, in fact, is from a game called Alcahest from 1993. There was, of course, Arcana, if you remember that one. That was like a dungeon crawly card-themed RPG. Let's see. A bunch of other stuff in here. Lagoon, I suppose. Last Bible. They directly compare to Might and Magic further down. We'll get to all this in a minute, Chad. I imagine we'll spend the lion's share of tonight arguing about genre definitions and what are the best examples of what. But yeah. Final Fantasy VI, that little indie game appearing in Magic the Gathering soon. What's up, Justin Brett? Depressed Cat. Good to see y'all. Using your fund money to try and optimize some clan stars for Battletech Alpha Strike. Nice. Very nice. Love it. Taking a quick break and streaming some other stuff. There's several loose threads I want to pull this up. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, glad to hear it was very solid for you. JRPG versus Western RPG. Yeah. There's an amusing review of Doom the Dark Ages complaining about the lack of humor for first. The dumb take wasn't IGN, yeah. I haven't read any Doom the Dark Ages reviews, but it seems like the prevailing opinion is it's very, very good. It sounds like it's actually an evolution of the formula designed to really take advantage of the shield you get in that game. 10 non-hot tub streams. There's gonna be a lot more non-hot tub streams. Let me tell you. But yeah, actually, upon reflection, I don't have a whole lot to mention from today. I had some stuff going on, so I didn't really play anything today, as happens sometimes. I had some time to dump into Vampire Survivors or Bone Razor Minions, and I just didn't really feel like it, so. I suppose, chat, since I'm starting a little bit late anyway, we could go ahead and start arguing about genres. Can I get that complaint? They get back Mr. Gordon for the music after Fallout. I mean, no idea. I haven't, I'll be honest, I don't follow a lot of like current and contemporary releases just because I don't plan on getting them when they first drop. Like, I still don't own Doom Eternal. I will eventually, I will play through that game eventually, but yeah, Doom the Dark Ages is not on my radar for anything more than just idle curiosity. Because I wouldn't be playing it before Eternal anyway. First Doom reboot game was pretty funny in places, and the next one got way too high. Wow. 110 stream streak. Very nice, Zem. Thank you very much. Feels like just yesterday it was 109. Funny how that works, isn't it? But I did play the first Doom reboot, and I really, really enjoyed it. My only complaint about that game was it didn't feel very balanced between action and secret hunting. Like, secret hunting was super, super important in that game. It was how you got all the really fun stuff in that game unlocked. But you'd walk into an arena, a very, very obvious arena. You'd have just a crazy fight. Just an absolutely insane shootout with all these demons and stuff. And then that would end. And then you'd spend the next, like, 5 or maybe even 10 minutes, like wandering around trying to figure out how to get into a locked office to get another secret. Like, it just had kind of weird pacing to me, personally. Secret hunting still running into walls. I know people loved it. I never really got that in earlier. No, the secret hunting in Doom 2016 is better implemented than that. You're looking for easily overlooked passages or hidden switches or stuff. You're not wall humping in that. Most of the secrets that I recall did a pretty good job of telling you where it is generally, but then making you suss out how to get to it. My example of a locked office, in one of the levels at the very beginning, there's an office with like big bulletproof windows where you can see inside. You can see there's a bunch of good stuff in there, but the door is locked, and you gotta figure out later in the level how to worm your way in there. Also, good evening, Eva. Thank you so much for subscribing for 47 months. My God, you are just shy of 4 years. Can you believe it? Wasted that much time on my ass. I was just like not being able to say just bloodlust constantly. That too, man. Just, if we're gonna do a Doom game right, we might as well be ripping and tearing at every possible moment. Also, good evening, Helvi. I was due for a legit 3 streak, didn't pop up. Boo. I believe you, Helvi. You have a 3 streak in my heart. What's up, Manic? Good to see you. Still trying to work your way through the plutonium experiment. Nearing the end, kinda. Well, you are made of stern stuff to get through all that. TNT and plutonia are both tall orders in terms of dooming. Doom has solution to how do I get in this locked office? Should be on fire in my rockets. Yeah, I know. It should be, but it's also a mode that causes your compass to throb when you were near secrets. Throbbing compass. Crusader No Remorse School secret hunting. I like it. Oh, Crusader No Remorse. You know, even now, it has been years and years since we played that particular raft of community night games. But I still have a short list of games that we played for community nights that I would like to do a full playthrough of, and Crusader No Remorse is up there. I love that game. I absolutely love that game. And I had a pretty good time streaming it too that one night. Still hoping quietly for Heretic Hexen remasters by Night Dive. That would be cool. That would definitely be cool. They could definitely use it. Honestly. Heretic, the original Heretic, I think could use a remake. I've played through chunks of Heretic, and it just doesn't hit quite the same way that Doom does. The enemies are a bit too spongy. The level design isn't quite there. So I feel like a really solid remake of Heretic could probably relaunch that entire series, and we'd be the better for it. Starting to wonder what GOG was saying. I have 2 different copies of Spear of Destiny. Apparently, Wolfenstein 3D update includes Spear of Destiny. Remember, Spear of Destiny had a bonus level pack. As far as I know, expansion is still MIA in the modern version. Same with Starfleet Academy. It doesn't have Chekhov's condition. I gotcha. Yeah, it's weird when they do stuff like that. Like, I think I've got like 2 different versions of Duke Nukem 3D and like 3 different versions of the original Shadow Warrior on Steam, if I remember correctly. Bonus level pack sucked. Not missing much. Heretic 2 getting a remaster would be amazing since Vaporware. Yes, yes, there is no way to get a hold of Heretic 2 right now. I don't know how it fell into rights hell like that. But yeah, it's a shame too, because it's really like the most interesting looking game out of that entire quadrilogy. I played Heretic a fair bit. Hexen and Hexen 2, their level design is, well, Hexen is it's really hard to tell what you're supposed to be doing from moment to moment. Hexen 2 is a little more interesting because it's set up like an actual open world, but it's still got that whole like flip a switch and then figure out what the hell that actually did gameplay to it. Heretic 2 always looked to me like a really good endpoint for that whole school of design, but I never got to play it, and it's lost to the ether at this point. So for the uninitiated out there, yes, the series goes Heretic 1, Hexen 1, Hexen 2, Heretic 2. Honestly, as a fanboy, I'm hoping for a MechWarrior 2 and Mercenaries remaster remake. I have to assume the rights for that are in... They shouldn't be all tied up somewhere, right? Like, if I remember correctly, the MechWarrior rights passed pretty cleanly to whoever holds them now. Mortal Sin apparently got a realistic graphics update. You can switch to the retro graphics on the fly. That's always cool. I always think it's really cool when they do the ability to flip between graphics on the fly. Still playing through Skin Deep, again, really cool way they do narrative and story missions. They basically chop them up into small vignettes. For example, you zip line under a roof and start finding your way forward. Cut to at the event you want to use, like a found footage. That is cool, and it really fits with Blendo's MO. The developers of Skin Deep also did stuff like 30 Flights of Loving, and they love jumping around in their narrative with hard cuts and stuff. So it's cool to hear that they're still making the most of that in their new games. MechWarrior 2 is hilarious nowadays. Wireframe mechs with stretched over textures. Yeah. I mean, kind of like playing the enhanced editions of X-Wing and TIE Fighter, where they've got some really sketchy 3D models that they try to texture over, but it ends up being that like PS1 like warped movie texturing. MechWarrior 2 will be rebuilt from the ground up. The original was purpose-built for the era's accelerator cards at the time. So it might be a really big job for whoever holds the rights at the moment. It might not, unfortunately, it might not be worth, in their estimation, it might not be worth it. So, but we can hope and pray. Eva got like half a thought out and then thought better of it, I guess. So anyway, chat, let me remind you of the squadron. That means that the quadrilateral cowboy devs. Yes, if I remember correctly. You know what? Let me double check while we're on the subject. Because on Power Hours nights, I can do things in the background and y'all can't see it. Ha 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 ha. Yep, Blendo is Gravity Bone, Quadrilateral Cowboy, 30 Flights of Loving. I always forget they're also the Adam Zombie Smasher devs, which is very interesting to me. But yeah, Blendo has a really interesting style. I've always appreciated how weird. Yeah, Flotilla too. I don't know much about Flotilla. I never played that one. But yeah. No wonder you like it so much. Alright, so anyway, chat. Schedule reminder. Tonight, of course, is the Power Hours. You can behold that with your very eyeballs right here. Tomorrow does nothing, and I don't need to tell you that because I never stream on Sundays for any reason whatsoever. Monday, though, we're back to Jedi Fallen Order. And I imagine we'll be doing that for the week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Other than that, I mean, it'll be the usual power hours next week, Thursday and Saturday, and then Friday, I don't know, we'll see. We will see. I guess I'll go ahead and mention, oh, tomorrow's your birthday! Happy birthday, Elvie. I'm sorry I can't stream for your birthday because I never stream for your birthday. But happy birthday to you. Next Friday, we'll do something. The Friday after, we will not do something. I am going to be on vacation the Friday after. Taking a little weekend trip to Yellowstone, which will be pretty neat. Tomorrow's your birthday too. Happy birthday, Manning. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday, birthday twins. Congratulations, one more year on the desiccated rock. That's the spirit. Really, really just make everybody feel super happy. All right, that's the schedule. I did it. I told you the schedule. I will look at all the geysers, yes. Welcome back to the Power Hours chat. I'm gonna go back to the normal 2-page view. Because I thought it might be kind of weird if I just left this on these people's thighs. While we did our requisite half an hour of rambling. But yes, we are back here. Next in question works for Tarantino. Oh yeah. That actually does look like an old like X-Wing model. Same kind of 3D modeling. That's really cute. Yeah, that could definitely do with a remake, couldn't it? So, chat, welcome back to the halcyon days of April 1995. We were on the very cusp of many epic games, of Secret of Evermore, of Ogre Battle, of Earthbound, of lots and lots of things. And of course, Weapon Lord here, if you're wondering who these games belong to. But yeah, Land for Night, we're gonna work our way through the Epic Center. We may, it really depends on how feisty y'all, I say this all the time, but it really depends on how feisty y'all get with requests. We have done a full playthrough of Secret Evermore on this channel. We've played plenty of Ogre Battle, and kind of came to the realization collectively that it's not the best game to stream necessarily. It's a very interesting game, but wouldn't necessarily make the most interesting streaming experience. So considering those are the two big features this month, we may not spend a terrible lot of time on this particular Epic Center. However, Nintendo Power did have the temerity to open with a breakdown of different genres that get covered in Epic Center. And I feel like we can do a fair bit of arguing over this. Because if there's one thing I love doing on Power Hours nights, it's arguing with people from 30 years ago. So, how's about we get into it, chat? Adventure, role-playing, and much, much more. What is a role-playing game? A miserable pile of secrets, that's what. What's an adventure? How do strategy games differ from RPGs? What makes a sim a sim? Since Epic Center covers all these types of games, you might like to know how we define these different styles of games. Here are our definitions, but remember that some games cross over categories by sharing several characteristics. In fact, this month's feature game, Ogre Battle, successfully mixes all three types of epic. Interesting. You wouldn't be a Star Wars fan if you didn't like that. You're not wrong. Not wrong. Guilty as charged. All right, RPGs, chat. Put on your RPG hats and prepare for the RPGing. RPGs have a central character or characters in a party whose abilities grow during the course of the game. The other defining characteristic is that battles take place in a separate view and you don't have direct control over the movement of your character or party during the battle. Instead, you choose to use fight, use magic or items, or run away. What I like to refer to as menu-based violence. Okay, so Nintendo Power is setting out two key features of RPGs. One is that you have a character or characters whose abilities grow during the course of the game. I think that's pretty solid. I think that is probably in the broadest terms what people now consider an RPG to be. A game that has some kind of stat growth. Like I know that like the iPhone App Store will classify hero collector games and stuff as RPGs, even though you're not actually gaining experience or levels or anything by battling, but you are shoving equipment and other resources into characters to grow their stats and abilities, which in the broadest sense is an RPG, I suppose. The other defining characteristic is that battles take place in a separate view and you don't have direct control of the movement of your character or party during the battle. There have definitely been, in the intervening decades, RPGs that spurn this idea. The Final Fantasy series itself has kind of grown into this space where you have direct control over your characters during battle. Even, you know what? Actually, this raises it. Well, actually, I was gonna say this raises a question that I'll circle back to, but that depressed cat wants to ask it right now. Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy Adventure, the Tales series. Glancing ahead in this article, Nintendo Power squarely classifies Secret of Mana as an adventure game, not an RPG. I would disagree with that assessment, personally. I feel like Secret of Mana shares more DNA with RPGs than it does adventure games. I get it. You can certainly make the argument that it has more in common with something like The Legend of Zelda, which is exactly what they put it next to here. But I think the mechanics of battle and progression are the real keys here. In The Legend of Zelda, you progress your character by finding stuff. Your combat is not really defined by stats, but Secret of Mana is the opposite of that. You gain levels as you battle, and your stats have a major impact on how battles play out. Is not a role-playing game taken as a screen name on Twitch? Good question, actually. Very good question. This is a reasonable enough definition for the purposes of console player in 1995. Yes, I'll also agree with that. I think it's interesting for our purposes to break down how these delineations have aged. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with them in the framework of 1995. Like, I think describing RPGs as menu-based violence games in 1995 is perfectly reasonable. I would certainly be inclined to argue that they're leaving out certain titles like Secret of Mana, but I think it was again the games that came out between then and now that broke down that particular distinction. What in the hey? Why is there a stream on Saturday, the day you never stream on? Good question, Arcane. I don't know. It just came to me. It just popped in there. I was pretty certain that regardless of what requirements that an RPG must have, we'll leave out several RPGs from this era. Something, no such thing as a fish. I think RPGs are better defined in terms of lineage and influences, which is not perfectly robust, but nothing is. That's interesting. Lineage and influences. I see where you're coming from, though. I definitely see where you're coming from, because so many RPGs and like cornerstones of the genre, and also RPGs that push the genre out in different directions, can trace the roots directly back to stuff like Dragon Quest or Wizardry. So that is actually a pretty reasonable way to look at it, and I've never actually considered that. But I like that. Yeah, I've never seen a stream on Plorp Day. I'm saving my Plorp Day stream for something very special. Alright, anyway, to finish their blurb on RPGs, RPGs offer extended play, usually featuring large worlds for players to explore and extensive story elements. Final Fantasy III is a perfect example of a mainstream RPG as it has evolved in Japan. I get why they're saying this. I understand why they're saying this. It is the most visible example to a Western gamer in 1995 of a mainstream Japanese RPG. And that is specifically because the Dragon Quest series did not persist past the NES in the West. At this time, at least. Obviously Dragon Quest is the template, the gold standard of JRPG. Specifically in Japan. But like I said, I get why they say this. It's the best example they've got here. That's also a convenient way to exclude stuff like latter-day Castlevania. Yes, Symphony of the Night has levels, but lineage puts it outside the genre. That's a very good point. Yes, that is a very good point. Yeah, you're much better served describing Symphony of the Night as a platformer or a Metroidvania or some other genre than RPG. It is one of those that has RPG elements. And that's an important distinction too. There are RPGs, and then there are games that borrow RPG elements. Like, I am not, in any way, shape, or form, inclined to classify Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes as an RPG. It does not play like an RPG, but it absolutely does have RPG elements included. One slight variation on the RPG theme can be found in first-person perspective games like Eye of the Beholder or Might and Magic 3 Isles of Terra. Chat, how does this rub you? Variation on the RPG theme. I mean, dungeon crawlers are, they're one of the cornerstones of the RPG genre, right? Like, you basically don't have RPGs as we know them without those old school dungeon crawlery types, right? Yeah, exactly. They're among the oldest RPGs. We're talking like Ultima Underworld, yeah? I feel like dungeon crawlers are more foundational than the Final Fantasy style. Yeah, exactly. Wizardry says hi, yeah. It's also a time where there was a lot more stratification games. Yeah. Again, I totally get why they're posing it this way. If your frame of reference is the Super NES and you're trying to describe things to a broad audience, you're gonna use the examples that most people are familiar with, and that's JRPG. That is Final Fantasy. SNES Final Fantasy. That is what people are going to think of as the quintessential Super NES RPG of late 1994, early 1995. I get that. It makes sense. So it's just, it's a weird sort of backwards way to get to the roots of the RPG genre, but at least they got there. I think we can give Nintendo Power a little bit of credit for the Eye of the Beholder, Might and Magic callouts here. And yeah, these were selected specifically because they had SNES ports. Mispronounced Seven Saga. Weird this being framed as a slight variation. Say that Eye of the Beholder and Final Fantasy are essentially different genres. I mean, yeah, I would agree with that as well. You know, I would definitely, I definitely considered like dungeon crawlers and like JRPGs to be very, very different things. If I'm looking to play an RPG, it's going to be one or the other. I'm not going to put those up against each other. But yeah, I think considering them a variation on the RPG theme is fair enough, considering how they pose the entire genre definition as being characters who grow during the course of the game and battles taking place in a separate setting, generally through menus. Like, that does cover Final Fantasy 3, that does cover Might and Magic 3, but in different styles. My goodness, I think that lady is so ripped I can see her abs continue on underneath. Oh my god. I'm not sure they had a name, Metroid, like maybe. I do remember Metroidvania being coined. Apparently, appropriately for this discussion, it was intended to cover games that had Metroid-style progression alongside a level-up system like Symphony of the Night. I think Symphony of the Night specifically was what coined the Metroidvania, because it was. Actually, that's an interesting question. Was it the first game to kind of cross over with the Metroid style? Probably not, but it was perhaps the most visible or the most influential. And since it was a Castlevania, it became a Metroidvania. Watching a video on games where the New Game Plus is a vastly different experience. Apparently, Bravely Second has a big bad win, and the heroes break the fourth wall to lead the player to go back and start. Interesting. I'm generally not a New Game Plus guy. It usually doesn't do anything for me. I'm trying to think if there's any games where I did finish the New Game Plus in it. I guess Oxenfree, technically. However, I say that with the full knowledge and intent that when we get to Chrono Trigger, that I am going to do the full New Game Plus experience in that, assuming y'all have the patience for it, because that's something that has always bothered me. I have played through the normal, like the initial playthrough in Chrono Trigger. I've never done any of the New Game Plus endings, and I would very, very much like to. Castlevania 2 had Metroidvania elements, it just wasn't popular or something tonight. I can't really explain this. I can't deny that there's an obvious link between Simon's Quest and Symphony of the Night, but something in my soul separates those two. And I honestly, upon reflection, I honestly think it might be the lack of a map. I really, really feel like having that detailed, like room breakdown map in a Metroidvania is just elemental to the genre. It probably sounds ridiculous. Yeah, that's like, look, I'm not gonna die on this hill. I'm not gonna claim any kind of like deep genre insight. It's something I feel. Like a Metroidvania needs a map. And I think you can make the argument that Simon's Quest does, but you have to make it yourself, and I won't argue that point. But yeah, it's something about that. I think Metroidvanias that lack an easily accessible map feel off to me. I feel like they are missing something elemental to the genre. You can see the Link Simon's Quest is way different from the Metroidvania standard. The way the areas are laid out is just super weird. Do we try to treat it as a Metroidvania? Yeah. Simon's Quest feels a lot more... Well, I mean, Simon's Quest is a Faxanity-like, is what it is. And those games were essentially a bunch of discrete stages stitched together. It was... Those games... Like Simon's Quest, gameplay-wise, does kind of have more in common with the classic Castlevanias than the Metroidvanias, because you're essentially playing through stages like you would in a classic one, except most stages don't have a boss at the end, and then at the end you pick a direction to go. I actually agree with that. I think filling a map room by room is central part of the Metroidvania experience. Okay, good. It's not just me. That really, really does feel important to me. Music is super familiar on an SNES. We are on an SNES RPG playlist again. I figured since we were going to be parked on the Epic Center for hours tonight, I might as well. We're currently in the Lagoon block. The next, let's see. The next 20 minutes or so, solid, are going to be tracks from Lagoon. And then that'll be followed up by Last Bible 3. I know I've seen plenty of Metroidvanias that have the map and progression is totally linear with backtracking. True. And I think that's okay. I think that has more... I think that's more justifiably Metroidvania than Simon's Quest, to be perfectly honest with you. All these years later, the pen bug still cheeses me off. Okay, this also makes me realize I'm kind of a hypocrite here, because there is one Metroidvania that doesn't have a map that I will maintain is a Metroidvania, and that's Metroid 2. I should probably do some soul searching on this point, because I do feel like I'm flying a little seat of pants here on my genre definitions now. Just going off of vibes entirely. And I may be biased towards Metroid 2 because I like it so much. But yeah. I saw totally linear with backtracking, and I immediately thought of Metroid 2. Metroid 2 is a shockingly linear game. I think they get away with tricking you into thinking it isn't, specifically through the mechanics of the spider ball, because the spider ball is a genius bit of game design that makes areas feel way bigger than they should. But yeah, that game is super linear. OG Metroid didn't have an in-game map either. It's a genre evolution, one that I consider to be essential now. Yes, I will agree with that. You basically gave me an easy out here, worst elephant. I'm gonna take it, goddammit. You got pedantic. Blaster Master was the first. The map was vague and in the manual. Good point. Yeah, Blaster Master definitely had a very Metroidvania-y map. Especially in the way it was laid out, so yeah. Yep, I will agree with that. And Metroidvanias and maps, ... Hollow Knight, where you must find and buy your maps. I'm fine with that. I consider that to be a further evolution of the genre, where the map becomes more an integral part of the gameplay. You know, whereas we've gone from like Metroid 1 and 2, where you had no map, you basically had to make it yourself, to Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night, where the map fills in as you go. Then on to Hollow Knight, where filling in the map is like a diegetic effort. It's something that the player must make a concerted effort to do. It becomes a gameplay mechanic beyond just having where you've been be recorded. You can make an argument for Zelda 2 over the level up system feels nothing like a Metroidvania. They're not, least because the gameplay being so different. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. I'm not sure how to reconcile Metroidvania with a world map. You know, there's a difference between... And then it gets super fucking muddy because of stuff like Order of Ecclesia, which is literally a Metroidvania with a world map on top of the other maps. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. because then you've got multiple layers of just navigation on top of the map making and area scouting and whatnot. Do Metroidvanias have to be side-on 2D affairs with platforming? No. No, I don't think so. Because, yeah, I think it would be very hard to argue that Metroid Primes are not Metroidvanias. I've only played part of Metroid Prime 1, but yeah, it definitely fits the bill, as far as I'm concerned. Dark Souls and Metroidvania because you find keys and weapons to open new areas. I've heard this argument before, and I agree with it. I do in fact agree that Dark Souls is Metroidvania. Early NES games just throw wrenches in so many genre definitions. They do, and that's what makes this so interesting. This is what makes this such an interesting conversation, is that we kind of... Look, genres are an invention of necessity. They are a necessary classification for games because at its most basic level, if you play a game like Metroid and you're like, I love this, I want more of it. Genre is an invaluable convention for helping people do just that. But it also invites endless, interminable discussion over where the boundaries of that genre are, you know, which in itself is an interesting question. Are you being helpful if somebody says, oh man, I loved Hollow Knight, I went back and played Symphony of the Night, I love these Metroidvania games, what else should I play? Is it helpful to recommend them Dark Souls? Because that's ultimately the question, right? If genre exists to classify light games in the hopes of guiding people towards more similar experiences that they like, are the places that we're placing these boundaries actually helpful? May I request the next page? No. I mean, technically, yes, you can, but I'm not done with this page yet. I still have 2 more blurbs I have to read. I know, you've probably beheld all the thighs you can handle for one night. But we still have a little bit more to discuss on here. Bad news, we're only a third of the way through the page. This essay will argue the Etrian Odyssey games are turn-based Metroidvanias. Kind of like genres fuzzy edges because it means people are still being creative. Indeed, yes, I definitely agree. It's crucial to have one continuous world map, then Order of Ecclesia absolutely screws that up. I think the increased mobility to get to new areas is absolutely central part to Metroidvanias. Hard disagree about Dark Souls. That is also interesting. That is an interesting wrinkle. Mobility upgrades feel important, otherwise it's just a key hunt. However, you cannot deny that the key hunt is an essential aspect of the originators of the genre. The Metroid games require you to get certain weapons to open certain doors. Thus, an important aspect of the progression is not in mobility, but is in essentially finding keys by other names. Same thing does happen in Symphony of the Night. You get certain powers that are literally just keys for doors. There's the magic cube in Symphony of the Night. There's also the initial mist form, which doesn't really function as anything other than a key for like gratings and stuff. Contrary-wise, if somebody likes Symphony of the Night, Hollow Knight, is recommending Metroid 2 going to help? It wouldn't for you. And again, a very good point. A very, very good point. Because yeah, Metroid 2 is a very different style of game from those. We obviously classify it as a Metroidvania, because it's a Metroid game. But yeah. It is missing a number of conventions that we would consider for the modern genre definition. So, interesting stuff, chat. A lot of food for thought tonight. I feel enlightened. I feel elucidated. And as was observed, we're only a third of the way through this page. So let's talk about adventure games, shall we? Adventure games might also have characters who grow in strength over the course of the game. All right, so immediately Nintendo Power is kind of blowing up their delineation here. But you have direct control over your character throughout. In battle, you can move your character and attack enemies directly. You also have some freedom to move to different areas and make choices about where you go and what to do. In other words, adventures are not strictly linear like side-scrolling action games are. Adventures feature large worlds, multiple weapons, many story elements, and items. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past and Secret of Mana are two examples of adventure games. Would we call these RPGs today? No. ARPGs to me are Diablo-likes. Like that is the first thing I zero in on when somebody says ARPG. I think that particular genre has gotten a little, yeah, strongly diseased. I think that particular genre has gotten diluted. Because I think it I have also seen that term applied to these kinds of games too. But the problem is that also encompasses Diablo-style games, and they are not equivalent. The theft of ARPG by Diablo 2 nerds grates on you. So, what is the A stand for if not action? But I mean, that's see, okay. See, my position is ARPG perfectly describes Diablo-likes, because they take RPG mechanics and boils down the gameplay to pure action. Personally, I think ARPG describes Diablo-likes much better than it describes games like Zelda or Secret of Mana. Because there is more... No, there's less. There's less action in games like Zelda and Secret of Mana than there is in games like Diablo and Grim Dawn. The problem that leaves me with is I don't know what the fuck to call Zelda games. I don't know what you... Like, for me, games like Zelda are like... Oh, God. They're like adventure games that you then have to distinguish from point-and-clicks being point-and-click adventures. It's not clean, it's not pretty, and I don't love it. But that's the way my brain works. I'm sorry, Chad. Might take Diablo 1 as a real-time roguelike. No. I can't give you that one, I'm sorry. I cannot give you that one. Because Diablo, by default, is not permadeath, and... The dungeons change between characters. But yeah, I don't, yeah. I can't see even the original Diablo as like a real-time roguelike. I think it's pretty understood by now that RPG and action RPG are different things. Nobody hears Final Fantasy 16 is an action RPG and gets confused because it's not like Diablo. Okay, I kind of see that. I kind of get that. Manic, thank you so much for subscribing for 4 years, dude. Legend of Zelda Quest for High School. Adventure is pretty well locked down to point and clicks these days. I don't know if I agree with that either. Maybe that's my perspective as a console kid, making mouse clicking feel less immediate and thus actiony than pressing buttons. Yeah, it may just be a perspective issue. Oh no, not action adventure. Connecticut Yankee on King Arthur's Court is an isekai because the protagonist uses advanced modern knowledge to get ahead in the fantasy world. I'll call Duke Nukem 3D a Metroidvania just to make you angrier. What's up, Captain Horatio? Magellan Crunch? My brain works like a meat grinder. Take breakfast cereals in the top and you turn the crank. Terrible puns come out the bottom. Nice. Stardew Valley, Metroidvania, obviously. Started grinding my teeth here. Diablo 1 is so willing to screw you over the shrines, cursed and plague bearers. Dropping your HP permanently definitely has some of that roguelike DNA in there. I'm not denying that it has roguelike art DNA. I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Is it helpful if somebody plays, like, I don't know, Caves of Cud or NetHack to say, oh, you should play Diablo after this? Hang on one sec, I'll be right back. My father and wife are having entirely too much fun without me. Oh boy! It's hard to got so he and his family had to check on him. It might be helpful actually as long as you qualify Haze or real-time take on some of the same ideas minus full permadeath. Diablo 1 is my favorite games. It might have some elements that shows a roguelike. Calling roguelike feels like a stretch to you. Real immersive sim always feels to me like it should have had a much greater emphasis on non-combat elements and stuff like Deus Ex or Yeah, immersive sim kind of frustrates me. I really don't think it's a great description of the genre, but I also allow that there isn't really, like, I don't know what you replace it with. I don't know what's more descriptive than that. More so from NetHack than CUD, that's because CUD itself differs from a lot of earlier roguelikes in the details. That's true. Still loving this. It's rare anymore to have these kind of discussions or break down ideas, see what makes them tick without people getting angry. Because of course, nobody's getting angry here. I'm so happy I get to fight about RPGs and roguelikes. Problem with genres and definitions, the more you try to define them, the harder it gets to actually nail it down. Yeah. I think that's why so many people are satisfied. I mean, somebody in chat said earlier, they're perfectly satisfied to have fuzzy genre definitions that can encompass more and more things because you get more and more interesting ideas like that. And I agree with that. I personally find genre discussions very enlightening. I think it's fun to break down how we each conceive of a genre in our own ways. I much prefer my descriptions game where you can get to X in a couple ways. Yeah, gender is like that when you really break it down. Now that we have roguelite, I'm happy to insist on roguelikes being turn-based. That is perhaps my hottest genre take. I don't like the term roguelite. I don't use it. I use roguelike and traditional roguelike. But I will openly admit I am very much in the minority of this, and I'm really just being an old man yelling at clouds about it. It's a more meaningful distinction than meta progression versus no meta progression, which has more variance. Yeah, definitely. Meta progression's a really interesting wrinkle in the roguelike genre. I know there are some people that are absolutely like hardcore against it. I'm still not super clear what constitutes a roguelike, but at least I have a better understanding of it through examples now. That's the roguelikes you played a while back really help you understand it. Yeah, for me it's always been procedural generation and permadeath defines a roguelike. Traditional roguelikes follow the Berlin interpretation pretty closely. Common use of the term is endgame in both meta progression and permadeath. Among Team Berlin interpretation, I draw the distinction between traditional roguelikes and action rogues in discussion, because otherwise just invites misunderstandings and fights. My perspective on it is one born pretty much purely of pragmatism, which is that the average person, when you ask them about roguelikes, they're gonna point you at something like Dead Cells or like Hades, and not at something like NetHack or ADOM. So in my own mind, I've ceded the genre of roguelikes to what most people consider roguelites, which is games that take permadeath and procedural generation and then just remix them however the hell they want. And then if you're talking about like turn-based, grid-based, old-school roguelikes, to me that's traditional roguelikes. I can't honestly explain why I dislike the term roguelites. I think it's specifically because it's what? A single letter off from roguelike? And I feel like that could be more confusing and frustrating than anything. Yeah, that was in the song, whatever it is. Put up with meta progression or survivor likes. I didn't like it for a time because the people are insisting on were so annoying and snobbish. I've warmed on for exactly the reasons you say. If someone's like Hades, you don't recommend that NetHack is just too useful, not have two terms, yeah. And look, I get it. I even accept the official terms are roguelike for stuff like NetHack and I guess CUD too. And then roguelite for something like Binding of Isaac, Hades, Dead Cells, all that stuff. I just don't do that because I'm a stubborn asshole about this one specific thing. Something I feel like a lot of modern roguelikes miss out on is item randomization. A bunch of them don't even have some equivalent to starvation to push you forward. Starvation, though, is... Okay. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't feel like a ticking clock element is essential to the definition of roguelike. I don't feel like roguelikes necessarily have to have some mechanic to push you forward. I know a lot of them do, and a lot of them do it very well. But there are plenty that don't. And I think they work just fine. Starvation is not essential. It helps save optimal man for himself. Excellent point, yes. Excellent point. I know people use run-based for games like Hades or Binding. That's an interesting one. Never your favorite feature. I do miss finding things and not knowing what they do that run. Starvation is an energy mechanic. It's meant to keep you moving, not sapping every level for anything. Yeah, and I get that. But there's, you know, there's other ways to accomplish that as well. Tales of Maj'El doesn't have a ticking clock, and that game kicks ass. I mean, well, I guess Caves of Cud does, since it has hunger and thirst. You can't just sit around forever, but it doesn't. Caves of Cud implements it in a way that doesn't actually feel like a ticking clock. Boon, the need for it as a mechanic can be used well, but often isn't. I'm using one of the games I've seen that handles best is Minecraft. You know it does. It really does. Minecraft's food system does actually work pretty well. Satiation system, whatever you want to call it. I think what soured me a lot on survival mechanics is survival games and managing the hunger and thirst and tiredness and bathroom meters or whatever. Super Mario World's a roguelike because that's tough. I like how the ground gives way, handles the food clock, only consume food when you rest, when you heal when you rest. Seems like a good way to keep it focused. Anyway, chat, I gotta push forward. We're over an hour in and we haven't turned a page yet. So let's talk about strategy games real quick. Strategy games usually involve moving units rather than individual characters, but characters may play a role in how the unit operates. Oh god, don't show them, oh, what's that game? I wanted to make a joke and I flubbed it, chat. I hate myself. Last Remnant! Don't show them the Last Remnant, their heads will explode. Nailed it, chat. Most strategies revolve around war scenarios, either historically based or fantasy based. The game takes place on large maps and battles between units are controlled by the computer. Koei, one of the largest game companies in Japan, has excelled in the strategy arena, concentrating on historical war games like PTO and Operation Europe. I see nothing to dispute here, chat. I think it's fine. I can't stand survival crafting games that just feel like work. I am extremely picky about them. The gold standard of survival crafting for me is Subnautica. Any survival crafting game that is grindier or more time consuming than Subnautica, I am probably gonna dumpster. Yeah, dinner for Subnautica is very easy to be self-sufficient at. Yeah, Subnautica has the advantage of its food and water meters not being particularly obtrusive and being extremely, extremely easy to just, like, remove from relevance entirely. You don't gain benefit from being okay against some regeneration being totally full. You start starving totally empty. You're part of that. Aside from that, do as you see fit. Yeah, and that's a good way to handle it, honestly. Leave it up to the player how far they want to push the system both directions. I did like Don't Starve, I think just because of the art and aesthetic. Don't Starve has a powerful look and feel to it, yeah. I'd like to go back to that game sometime. No attempt to differentiate turn-based and real-time. Were they both around 1995? Real-time wasn't really. Real-time was not. I think, like, can anybody think of a console strategy game that was real-time in 1995? Because I can't. Not that I'm terribly well-versed in the genre to begin with. Yeah, console, no. I know RTSs were becoming a thing around this time, but that was consigned to PC. I was just cheating. Subnautica hits every spot just right. That's why it's the gold standard, man. That's why every single survival crafting game should be measured against Subnautica. Are you as fun as this? No. Why the hell not? You have the template right there. It's a game that's been around for years and years and years that tells you, no, you don't have to spend a majority of your time scavenging food and water. No, you don't have to sit around for minutes at a time waiting for some crafting thing to tick down. This is how you do it. Subnautica is the one you recommend to people who hate survival crafting. Exactly. Elements of horror crafting, survival exploration, a whole bunch of thalassophobia. Runs that don't start for too long to die hours in for reasons you don't understand, which is your experience with it. Yeah, I get that too. That's probably why I haven't gotten farther in it, but it is really, really fun. Powermonger? Ogre battle, if you want to stretch it. That's a pretty big stretch. Also, I wonder if they're going to address Ogre Battle on the next page. First Dog's Way, sometimes it's called out as an early RTS, never felt right to you. What's up, Beth Kinda Sorta? Did you ever play Don't Starve Together? I never really got into it. Game is better as a single player for me. No, I haven't, actually. I've only ever played Don't Starve. Changing to co-op, changing the dynamics too much. Powermonger is an early console RTS. Can't remember much about it. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. All right, chat. Hour and 15 minutes in the stream. I am turning the page. It is a momentous occasion, indeed. Also, I need to zoom in. I didn't realize I was so zoomed out. The Planet Crafter is okay until you get to life, then becomes a crappy graphics. I mean, that's another thing that kind of happens with survival crafting games. Is some of them might start out solid, and then devolve further the further you get into them. All right, chat. We got a lot to go over on this page, but while we do, I would like to direct your attention to the sidebar on the far right, because we have an entire listing of extremely notable epic games. If y'all want to summon any of those to the fore. While I'm going through this. Attempt to request more Lufia. I will say this about Lufia. At this point, I don't think it's a very useful game to request more of. I think if anything, y'all need... I think if anything, y'all would need to campaign for a full playthrough of Lufia. We've bounced in and out of it a couple times at this point. Yeah, and that seems to be what most people are doing, is waiting for Lufia too. Same with Breath of Fire. People weren't particularly inclined for a full playthrough of Breath of Fire 1, but I know there's some folks holding out for later Breath of Fires. I will say that in general, I prefer to play survival crafting games with multiplayer. I find them far less grindy in a way it spreads out the work. And that makes sense too. I think that's how a lot of people prefer to do it. So, I went through a Valheim phase recently, like 2 months ago maybe. And I did eventually burn out on it, and I think it was because the game really, really feels like it's balanced for multiplayer. I reached a point where the enemies were haranguing me too much to actually accomplish anything, and it really felt like I was supposed to have another person there to be fighting them off while I was doing the crafting and building, and that rather put me off the game. I think trying to group flight sims and SimCity in the same genre is not useful. Okay. I agree in principle. I think the issue is that simulation as a genre is widely encompassing. I think it's why we further delineate with like city builder and flight sim, because they're not wrong. Like SimCity is a simulation of a city. Like Aces Over Europe is a simulation of flight. They're both simulator games, but they're simulating two wildly different things. So, playing Satisfactory with a group completely changed your opinion on it. I can see that. Though I will say, I absolutely adore Satisfactory on its own. Solo. What's the song from? Sounds surprisingly modern. This is Last Bible 3. The third Last Bible. Mario's the jumping where it fits into Mushroom Simulator. Two types of sim games. There's sim games that simulate some system or job or task. Simulation games like flight simulators and train simulators, or crunchy simulations of generally vehicles. So here's my question, Captain Horatio Magellan Crush. Which basket would you put like farming simulator in? Look at that, speak of the devil. It's true, it's there. Alright, simulations include a wide range of games where players use realistic models of systems or machines. For instance, a flying game like Pilot Wings is a simulation, but so is SimCity. In Epic Center, we will cover simulations like SimCity that model systems like towns, nations, or businesses. These games are often open-ended with a few set goals, so trying to win, players may rather explore the simulation or build up. So interestingly enough here, Nintendo Power is essentially making the same argument that y'all are. That simulations itself is a very wide genre that encompasses very disparate games. And they, here in the Epic Center, are only going to cover one specific kind. The kind that covers, like, system simulation. Farming simulator is definitely not simulator. The simulation is simulation, the activity of farming or running a farming business. Basically, no physical simulation in the game. Interesting. I like Satisfactory. I loved it with a group. Felt so much less overwhelming. It's the only reason I actually completed the game at all. Savage Empire. Okay. And epic games include any of the genres defined above and all of the many combinations of those types of games. No matter what categories epic games fall into, all of them offer deep, lasting play value. Alright, so let's take these one at a time, chat. Love this song whenever it comes up. It is really good. You know what? Maybe we should play through Last Bible 3 just to get this song in its proper context. That might be a thing to do. There's some that are both Euro Truck Simulator, some crunch simulation, driving a truck, but also the activity of trucking and running a trucking company. Yes, very true. I agree with you on that. But yeah, engrave this one upon your soul, chat. This is from Last Bible 3. So if you want more of this, you know where to look. Alright, Savage Empire. The Ultimate Series takes a dramatic plot turn with the Savage Empire. As the Avatar wanders through time and space, you'll find yourself in a steamy jungle empire where tribes battle each other as well as the lurking primordial beasts. Here in the heart of darkness, the Avatar must search for the missing daughter of the local tribal chief, but that is only the beginning of the quest. The Savage Empire feels a great deal like the Black Gate in play control. The adventure-style format puts you in control of the Avatar while you explore and while you do battle. The building levels and gathering information is just as critical in this game as it is in any RPG. Command functions like those of the Black Gate are an improvement over earlier Ultimate games. Dozens of characters roam the towns as always, each with many topics at his or her disposal. The list of items goes on and on. Weapons, armor, and magic give strength to the Avatar, and food keeps them strong and out of the dark. Once again, you should save the game at every opportunity. Complexity of the Ultimate story is perhaps the strongest of any adventure series. Now, adventure series? Huh. Nintendo Power considers Ultimate games adventure games. Now in the 8th game, the story of the Avatar has become a true epic, but the best part of the Savage Empire may be the change in venue. For the first time in ages, the world seems new and mysterious, not just some rehashed Britannia. You should be able to enter the Savage Empire by June. You beat Last Bible 3, mostly kind of bad, as I remember, at least an absolute batshit insane plot twist midway through. I do like those. Alright, chat. Gameplay on my power hours is more likely than you think. Okay, so this is what? Under Ultima the Savage Empire? I don't see this, chat. This is a spell series called Worlds of Ultima. I don't have it there either. All right, I'm gonna need some investigation here, Chad, because I don't see anything called the Savage Empire in my index. I have for SNES, I have Ultima Runes of Virtue 2, Ultima 6 the False Prophet, and Ultima 7 the Black Gate. Did Savage Empire? Wikipedia says it came out on SNES. Got canceled. Localized in Japan. Okay, help me out here, Chad. Would this be Ultima Kyoryu Teikoku or Ultima Gaiden Kurokishi no Imbo? Would it be either of those? The first one, Kyoryu Teikoku? This isn't gonna make a lick of sense, but we might as well take a look at it. Since we've come this far. Worlds of Ultima is a publisher angry at Gary at making a new engine for every game, forcing him to crank out a spin-off for every engine for a few years. Well, this looks right. Also, I think I just gotta turn this down. Oh, that was savage, chat. Yes. That's fine. Bro, I'm Japanese, I don't know what a Lord British game means. Yeah, this is, I'm not gonna. Sorry. This is the best we can do. That's all we got. We played this one before? We did? Because I have, as usual, I have no memory of that. It's got that broken Ultima perspective that breaks my brain. Straight up, chat, I have never been an Ultima guy because I do not like the perspective of these games. We did. You did walk around this town and then we stopped. Well, let's see if we can wander off into the woods and die. Oh, that looks promising. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, sweet Lord. Run, Avatar! Flee for your life. Can you cross the bridge? You can't cross the bridge. Ha 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 ha! Love Ultima, I mainly play 1 through 4. Yeah, I have never gotten into the Ultima series at all. Wow, that was instant death. Okay. Alright, tragically, I don't think we're gonna get much out of this. Tragic comedically, I don't think we're gonna get much out of that. This is just Jurassic Park SNES. Alright. Smell a video. I already know what this is going to be about. Nintendo plans to launch its upcoming RPG Earthbound using a unique ad campaign with mailers and ads featuring scratch and sniff patches. That's just for starters. A special 128-page player's guide will be packaged with the game and will include smell cards that correspond to the events and characters in the game. For instance, when you go into a restaurant, you can scratch the appropriate card and catch a whiff of pizza. The chosen smell should stir up excitement for Earthbound, not to mention a few stomachs. Yeah, but not in the way you're expecting. Included will be the not-so-pleasant fragrances of some Earthbound's more vile enemies, 20 smells in all. The game itself uses campy humor throughout, so the offbeat odor of the campaign fits the mood perfectly. Does it, though? Does it, though? Alright. This game stinks! That's what was available for C64. I learned they ported 5 and 6. C64 6 does not belong on the Commodore. This must be one of the most elaborate games crunched on that system. It's on 3 double-sided discs and disc swapping all the time. Yeah, that sounds rough. Alright, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 3, Wall of Fire. Koei continues its series with this. The game takes place during the Three Kingdoms era of Chinese history. In the 2nd and 3rd century AD, your goals are released in the strategy series of war games to unite your warring kingdoms under your enlightened rule. It won't be easy, yada yada yada. I feel like we don't really need to read through this. Update players can join in the turn-based action. New Romance packs 6 scenarios in its 24 megabits of memory. Offers advice from officers as well as general game advice with the help function. Koei spruced up the graphics and sound for added entertainment value. In the past, the Romance series has attracted a decade following of wargamers. Koei hopes to increase that audience by giving new titles more intuitive interfaces and easier command functions. That would definitely help. Proof will be in the finished version, which I hope to report on next month as release dates. Koei hopes Romance 4 will be in stores by this summer. Okay, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 3. Four, not 3. But that said 3. What do we got here? Wow, okay. Only the title's 4 in the article? That's a hell of a typo for them. Okay. Alrighty. Do the early Romance games introduce the characters and plot like at all? I feel like they must have been totally screwed to look kids who down their cultural background. We dinked around with some of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms games on NES, and no. No, it was basically a super, super complicated board game crammed into a game pack. Try to play one once. Just once. Only once. From its historical simulation series. Never knew about them until Dynasty Warriors. It's crazy to realize how long Koei has been doing these games. And they're still doing them, by the way. They just generally don't bother to translate them anymore because they have super hardcore followings in Japan and other parts of Asia. But you can find them on Steam. You can find more recent Romance of the Three Kingdoms games from Koei. Just hope you can read Chinese. The titular Wall of Fire. Dem ships burn real good. Hello to you too. rather involved intro. Get him! They're making eyes at each other, chat. Games are so much better when the proper English voiceover is during the correct pronunciation of the Chinese names. I am Cowpea. Push start. Okay, I will. Fine. Jesus. We will start a new game. Oh, Christ almighty. We'll just start. 6 scenarios. Okay, we'll start at the beginning. Huge intro for looking at a bunch of boxes asking you how much you're gonna start first. Please select a ruler. Oh, Lord. Oh, there are 3 pages of rulers, chat. Although the 3rd page is pre-made rulers, or custom rulers. Liu Yong, Yuanshu, okay. I will be Dongzhou. Yeah, that guy. Nice beardy mans. This is okay. Please select a rule. I did. No. I don't think this works out for you historically. Cow. Why am I choosing somebody else to fight against or something? You see how evil Cow looks? He angry. I don't know what we're doing, so we're gonna do this guy. Sure, why not? Wait. Are these rulers that I control or what? I'm not really following here. Let's just pick one and move on. The view battles between other rulers. No, we'll skip that. Which mode will you play? Historical. Will newly created officers take part in this game? No. Which game level will you play? Average. Alright. Everything is okay. General Tso chicken is named after Cow because originally it was so spicy that only double like Cow could eat it. Ooh, look at the map, chat. Lord Dongzhou Zhu Yang has come to visit. Yeah. Will you meet? Sure. I can give you information on Wu. Don't worry about thanking me. Cool. Things are apparently happening. I am not controlling anything yet, no. Alright, now I am. Alright. Boy, there's a lot of information. Let's see. Army. Which city will you move? You can't select that city. Alright, well, never mind then. Who gives a shit? Staff. Search. Please trust me to search for an officer. Will you trust Li Ru with your orders? Yes. Color the Kings of Dad games? Yeah. Which area will you search? Chang'an. Yes. Please trust me, I promise to find someone that my lord will like. Yes, go for it. Do the thing. Okay, so maybe, wait. Maybe I can move my army into, it seemed like this was like an unclaimed city. I can move lots of people. I make gold pieces when you take. Fuck, I don't know. 1,600, sure, why not? How many barrels of provisions will you take? 1,000, sure. How many soldiers do you take? 100. How many How many strong crossbows will you take? How many horses will you take? Yeah, let's do it. Liru, yeah, great. I think I already told him to search for people. Whatever, doesn't matter. City. Look, I have 4 cities now. This is awesome. We got farms and dams and economies and tech. Please decide who you'll leave in charge. Wow! We can assign specific people to manage things. Here, I want you all to just manage the shit out of the city. Just manage it right into the ground. How much will you invest to improve technology? Holy crap. Give him 100 gold. Man, just so good. Shockingly complex with a 16-bit console? Yeah. Alright, I guess things are happening there. I hope the manual came with a history book because I have no idea who these people are. Market. F-Cell. F-Cell? Okay, that's too much for me. Now I watch a Let's Play for this game just so I can see some blaster knowing what to do. It's probably pretty impressive. Plot. Hide, bribe, rebel, gossip, arson, snoop. I want to snoop. There are no officers or skills to snoop on an enemy city. Aww. Can we gossip? On which city will you set the plot? This purple one. People. Who will set the plot? Lisu. Yes. Wild accusations about Cao Cao are spreading in Chenlu. However, the gossip does not spread very far. Womp womp. We also have foreign ruler info advice and map. Foreign. Okay, so this is politics. Ruler, delegate, assign, punish, exile. I can demote, fire, and seize people. God damn. Info. On officers, vassals, cities, events, and reports. Advice. Advice. Our crops would be severely damaged if we suffered a flood right now. That's not really advice. And then this lets us look around the map. It's a very ogre battle-y map, I've noticed. But we own 4 cities, so we're doing great. And God, the Yellow River never floods. Okay, so... I think... I was making decisions for, like, 1 city. This will end... Yes, this will end your turn. That's fine. And now little things happen in the background. People are revolting in several areas. People in Luoyang are starting a revolt. That's not very neighborly of them. Wouldn't expect much Western demand for a crunchy strategy game based on Chinese history. Yeah, I don't think there was, and I think that's why they stopped translating these games. Yeah, this is more like an RTS or maybe like Civ or turn-based. I actually play it. Needing to deal with politics and cost for troops a bit much even for you. Yeah, this is on the wrong side of crunch for me. I can do Civ. I can do, ironically, I can do something like Stellaris, but I have trouble handling something like this. I found a talented warrior named Sima Lang, but he refused to serve under you. Okay, they're back here. Okay, we're just gonna quietly tap out of this one, I think. Because that is some crunch. There's a Three Kingdoms Total War game. It did get a lot of support. I heard it was popular. I heard it did pretty well. Shame they didn't expand on it much. All right, more epic news. Civilization, the excellent but long-delayed strategy game from Microprose, has hit another snag in its release schedule. Although we played the finished version of the Super NES game some time ago, it now looks as if Microprose and its parent company, Spectrum Holobyte, have yet to settle on a street date. We hope that they decide soon, because strategy fans will eat this game up once it is out. What we can tell you is that the Super NES version of Civilization differs only slightly from the PC game. Unlike the Super NES SimCity, which added unique features to the hit PC and Mac versions, this Civilization recreates the award-winning game with a very playable Super NES interface. Although we don't have much information yet, Taito says that Lufia 2 is due out this summer, but a more likely date for the sequel is probably this fall. We'll update you on Lufia 2 as soon as we can. The Interstellar strategy game announced by Koei last summer has been taken off the Super NES development list according to Koei's US office. That may not be the end of the story. It's been hinted the game of Galactic Conquest may still appear on a Nintendo platform. Sometimes you gotta read the manual. I actually might track it down. I'd love to know how much detail it goes into. I do that every once in a while. I did do that for Uncharted Waters New Horizons, and it was helpful for understanding some of the things you should do in that game. All right, Lufia 2. Let's see what all the hubbub's about, bub. Let's see what y'all have been so excited about. This is back when Civ had Zone of Control and was annoying. Civ! I don't know that the Civilization games really need zones of control, as long as movement points aren't too crazy. Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals. Serious fun. This is a very pretty opening. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's very pretty. Oh, wow. Master. Aram, I would like to ask you something. Yes, sir. Who should rule, we Sinistrals or humans? Your names are Sinistrals. There's no doubt in my mind that we should rule. I disagree. why do you ask that, sir? Judgment time with the dual blade has come. Are you saying the dual blade is resonating? Would you go? Yes, sir. Ah, she is a ball. So Sinistrals have aerodynamic ball forms, apparently. Ooh, that's some nice map work. That is some nice map work, chat. Look, it's Triforce Island. Oh my god! Alright, video game. Start. Name. You know, we can be Maxim, that's fine. Tia, are you home?
Hi, Maxim. How was work today?
Alright, I got 6 jellies.
Let's see. That'd be 110 gold pieces, right?
Wait a minute, Tia, I said 6 jellies. That comes to 180 gold pieces.
Look, monsters are cheap these days. The city's suffering, so you can't pay the top price.
Yeah, it's true. More monsters every day.
It's spooky, you know?
Well, I should appreciate it, though. I'm a monster hunter. I'd lose my job without them. Oh, I wonder if she has a player-size sprite, not fancy NPC sprite like Eric. I'm sure it's not important. This is some nice sprite art. I don't want to be mean to Lufia 1, but this game already, like, right out the gate looks way better than Lufia 1.
Master, you thought about getting an ordinary job?
What is an ordinary job, anyway?
Let's see. Like a shop owner, perhaps?
Me, shop owner? Ha! That'll be the day.
How can you be so insensitive?
Do you say something, Tia?
Forget it, here's your money.
Yeah, we played the first Lufia a fair bit. We have a save file on that. We've made some decent progress in it. This one is new to me. I've never played this one before. Maxim, please be careful. Anyway, do you need anything? This is a very pretty menu. No, I've never played Lufia 2 before. It is pretty. Elson! Why doesn't Tia get upset at anyone except you, Maxim? Doesn't she like you? I don't know, Hatsune Miku. Maybe she does. I can hear Tia's voice from here. You should apologize to her later, okay? Both Lufia games seem to focus heavily on the main male character pissing off the main female character. Or a female character. I don't know if she's the main character. Maxim, I'll show you my secret to dungeon fighting sometime soon. How about now, Pops? Done a lot for us, can't take your money. You want to stay over? Not right now. This one's a huge step up. The first was more of an hour's playtime. The first one's more of a generic Dragon Quest plan. I have to go to Sundleton to get my favorite Grandpa's tea. Grandpa's favorite tea. Don't you think there are more monsters in the cave to Sunderland than they used to be? The city is so peaceful. Listen, Maxim, there's a somewhat unusual way to use spells. Would you like to know about it? Yes. There's no such thing as a one enemy or all enemy spell anymore. It's any spell for any enemy. When there are 3 jellies, you can put a spell on any or all of them. Of course, you attack all of them, damage is less compared to attacking just one. You concentrate your spell against one enemy and spread it out to attack weak enemies all at once. Also, it's too troublesome to choose one enemy at a time when attacking all of them. In that case, use the R button to select all the enemies at once. Remember this. But what is an R button anyway? I don't know. Do you know, Maxim? Which spell do you want? So it looks like he can learn strong and poison, but not spark. Anymore, so magic will regress to be worse than Lufia 1. Wait, so chronologically, this game takes place before Lufia 1? I've been around for quite some time, I know many things as you see. What do you wish to know? I'm good. Good for you today. This is a prequel, you're playing as Maxim. Saw a red ball, light shooting in the northern sea last night. I wonder what it was. Maxim was the guy in the prologue of Lufia 1. Okay. It has been a while since we played through the prologue, so. Granddaughter Daisy is going to Sundleton to buy some wonderful tea. I so look forward to it. This game also doesn't have save points. Remember Lufia 1 being a little exasperating and died to a boss and I replay a bunch of stuff? Seems like you save at churches. Sense of foreboding these days. I hope it's nothing. It's something. I can pretty much guarantee you it's something. Oh, it's you, Maxim. This is a good time to show you my secret techniques for fighting dungeons. I'll wait for you at the dungeons south of here. Save points in front of every boss? That's nice. Oh my god, you move so fast on the world map. Secret Skills Cave. You took so long, Maxim. Let's go ahead and start the lesson for secret techniques in the dungeon. First, the important thing is to learn the patterns of the monster's movements. Monsters move only when you move, so don't worry about monsters in front of you. Oh good, I see a jelly right there. Why don't you try to get that jelly? I did it. Next level 8. That's our Maxim. Jellies are nothing for him, but don't get cocky. Some monsters are fast, gaining 2 steps to your 1. Also, when there are many monsters in a room, don't let them surround you. Of course, the monsters move only when you move, so stop and think before you act. Let's move on to the next room. Enter from the Lufia 2 has roguelike DNA. This room will learn how to use skills. Press the select button to display the skills you have. Select the skill you wish to use. You now have only the skill arrow, but you'll receive more. Incidentally, arrows can freeze enemy movement for a while. If you hit an enemy with an arrow, it's temporarily paralyzed. Bumping a paralyzed enemy doesn't lead to battle. Skills never run out, so shoot an arrow when you don't feel like fighting. Lufia's a roguelike because that's good base movement. The bridge gateway can still be crossed when the switch in the back is turned on. The switch is not within your reach. We're in trouble. We can't go on. I was just kidding. You can also use skills in a situation like this. Oh, cool. God damn it. That's cool, chat. Alright, but what's this? My ancient cave is Shiren Light. Can't go in there. I guess we'll circle around. Remembering now, this game has every quality of life thing that 1995 could muster. The door of the room is locked. Can you find the key to open it? Can you see the switch to the upper left? Stay on the top of it. Come back to find the old man's rotting corpse. All JRPG players know, you must intentionally go the wrong way first because what if there's treasure? Exactly. Please wait a moment. I almost forgot. I forgot to give you one very precious spell. You can't survive the dungeon without it. It's Reset. You solve a trick in this room by pushing something. You must remember one thing. While you can push the pillars, you can't pull them. In other words, you push the pillar against a wall or door, you can do nothing more. Don't worry, there's a reset spell that sets it all up again. The spell sends you back in time to when you had just entered the room. Everything in the room returns to its original position, including the monsters. Reset does not take any MP. You can use it as many times as you wish. Huzzah! Also find reset on the skill ring. Press select, then up or down on the control pad. Oh. Wow. Okay. Fancy. Oh, I accidentally hit reset on this room. Haha. Solve this puzzle over and over and over again. Whenever you see arrows like those on the cliff on the right, you can jump down and give it a try. Wait. The next door will be open when you defeat all the monsters. If you can't find any devices or tricks, one way to solve the problem is to defeat all the monsters. If you can't figure out what to do, kill everything. That's a cute lizard. But it's dead now. It says Zelda puzzles will get pretty tough. Maximum next level 1. So I noticed I have HP, MP, and IP. Game's pretty loud. Alright. There we go. Maximum levels up. Max HP, max MP, strength, agility, intelligence, manager. Next level, 31. Press the B button, swing your sword, and cut grass using the sword. Some of the switches are underneath. Press the A button to pick up and put down the vase. This is a unique skill. Press the control pad while pressing the R button to change direction without moving. I think what will happen if you put a pot on that slate? Why don't you try? Amazing. IP is like limit break, kind of. This is my secret weed grow. Well, I guess I've finished the lesson. Of course, you have only begun to learn. Get through many dungeons, you must try many different things. Not easy to do, I'm sure you'll make it. Well, bye. Builds your tagging equipment as various IP skills dispensed. Okay. Sklorp. I was wondering if there were random battles on the world map. I mean, there kind of had to be, right? So what do you think? Can you capture the dungeon now? Glad you took my advice, right? That's right, Tia was looking for you. Well, first let me sleep until tomorrow. You don't learn about IP just yet because you don't have any IP equipment. Okay. Tia, what you want? Hey, Maximum's about to have dinner. Would you care to join me? Love to. I made something special, Maxim. Wait a minute, okay? Yay, free food. Holy shit. She just yeets it onto the table. Ta-da! It's fish pot pie made of Navarroa, the phantom fish. So this is Navarro, huh? Never heard of it. I've heard of it before, but never seen it. I know, I've never seen it either. What's it taste like, I wonder? Let's dig in. It's poisonous. Let's see. How is it? What shall I say? Tia, why don't you try some? I will. Here goes. And this is pretty bad. That's what this is. Think so too? It's not your cooking. It's the fish, don't you think? Why is it called the phantom fish then? Because it tastes so bad that nobody eats it. Something like that. Oh, I'm so disappointed. I wanted to cook something really tasty for you. Maybe it's not that bad if you cover it with lemon or something. See, it's not bad. I guess you could eat it that way. See, it's already tasting better. Yeah, you're right. Hold on. Maybe that's why it's called the phantom fish. Well, at least brought us a cheerful evening. Ha, ha, ha. I guess so. Well, I'm stuffed. Let me get some tea. Oh no, the female character's a bad cook. What hilarious comedy. You're right, thanks. Say Maxim, yeah? Why are you always in battle? Why do you ask such a thing all of a sudden? You're the only one fighting monsters. Not many people fight to live. Why you? Go the French way, cover with buckets of butter. I've been fighting ever since I can remember. I've never asked myself why. I've never met anyone quite like you before. Well, thanks for dinner. I'll make it up to you sometime. Don't worry about it. It's no fun to eat alone anyway. Join me again sometime, okay? I'd love to. Eating is something I do very well, you see. Well, bye. You know, I'm something of an eater myself. It smells something weird. What are you eating? Did you really eat that strange-looking fish Tia bought? Oh, what a guy. Bad news, everyone. What is it? A horde of monsters appeared in the cave on the way to Sundleton. Are you sure about that? It's horrible. Daisy, will monsters come to the city too? Well, I don't think they will, but... Maxim is not the stupidest character in this game, just give me an idea. How does one eat poorly? Unfortunately, that's not the only problem we've got on our hands. What do you mean? The monster closed the door at the back of the cave. We can't get to Sundleton without the key. It's not good. So does anyone have any ideas about what we should do? Monster fighter guy. Any ideas? No, I don't. Nah, kill! Sure, the monsters came to the North Cave. You're gonna get them, aren't you, Maxim? I was gonna summon some of my favorite garments. The monsters are going mental in the North Cave. Maxim, can you do something? Heaven's sakes, what's really going on? Maxim, you must know something. As I see you're the only one in the city that can take care of these monsters. Maxim, the only one can get the key from the monsters. Please try. Alright, game is saved. Also, maybe I should buy some better gear. Because I am currently... I have a small knife and a cloth. I can afford a rapier, which increases my attack by 2. I'm not sure that's actually worth it. Cloth is as good as this gets. Could raise defense by 2. You know what, we're probably fine. Oh, I probably should have bought healing items, come to think of it. A young woman went inside alone. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. But she seemed different from the other women I know. I felt like I shouldn't stop her, you know? She was too strong. Schwat. Oh, weird. There's enemies on the map, but there's also random encounters. That's very odd.
I got an antidote.
Oh, you actually saw the lizard in the corner? Oh, my mistake. Ugh. Oh, God, ow. Meow. Now that's a Scrungus. We got a Scrungus among us, chat. Bop, bop, bop. Meow. A very pretty butterfly. Wow, this is a big, complex cave. I might get scrungused by these guys. The only spell I have is reset. Oh, I did come pre-equipped with 10 potions. That's nice. Perfect. Ridge is out. Okay. Yeah, I've been scrungest. That was a bit painful. Not too bad, though. Pick your poison, I guess. You gotta do at least 2 of these. Devious puzzle. Baddies. Sorry, just bats. They're not fun-loving bats. Ooh. Oh, that one ran away. Your friend sucks, bro. He hung you out to dry. Oh, switches. Okay. What's up, Shadows? How you doing? The Zubat variety with those feces? Go, Maxim. How's Lufia 2? Good. Good. Much prettier and more polished than the first game. I'll give you the key to the door. It boss. Ooh. What about? That is a kawaii lizard man. Bubble bop. Bubble bop. Hey, 100 XP. Leveled up again. Gets the key to the door. I love Lufia when people try to tell me modern JRPGs are dumbed down because they don't have turn-based combat. I do think of stuff like this. I don't get it. How could the lizardmen be smart enough to steal the key? Besides, why should the lizardmen steal the key? They gain nothing by disrupting human life. I just don't get it. Never happened before. What's up, lady? Do you wish to know why, Maxime? Who are you? How'd you know my name? I can see the future. I know your name and why you come here. Who are you? Never mind. Don't you want to know why monsters are smarter in attacking humans? Do you know why? Are you aware of the ball of red light that appears a couple days ago? Yes. Everything that's happened has been because of that light. What? I can't believe that a ball of light has that kind of power. I understand your doubt. It is incredible, but true. But time has begun to change. Now a mere wave, later a gigantic swell of an attack on humanity. That's ridiculous. Why are you telling me this? Because you have the power to confront that swell. Me? Yes, you. Wait a minute, it's true that fighting is my job, I know, but I don't have such great power. What is this ball of light anyway? Is it monster or human? I need to know, what can I do against this humongous enemy of all humanity? It's not just you, there are others in this world who can confront this evil power. You're destined to go on a journey to meet those people and fight against evil. A journey to fight? That's right. When that ball of light appeared, your destiny was sealed. Will that ball of light really bring misfortune and I have the power to handle that? This is all I can tell you. Whether or not you believe me and go on your journey is totally up to you. Wait! My name is Iris. I'm here to ascertain your future. If you go, we may meet again. Both styles can be simple or deep. It's not one or the other thing. That being said, I can enjoy simple turn-based combat if it's fast-paced as much as I do more elaborate stuff. Same. I think more elaborate stuff can be hard to stick with. That's why I don't play many strategy RPGs, because the battles tend to take a lot of brain power and a lot of attention, and just last a really long time. I do like breaking them up with games like this, where you just kind of mash through battles more or less mindlessly. I mean, I assume the strategy in this game gets a little more complicated, a little more involved later on. But for now, this is all I ask, really. Yeah, sometimes you just want to dumbass your way through normal battles. I can one-shot these guys now. I can. I didn't, but I can. Yep, sometimes you just want to dumbass your way through normal battles. Again, understand I don't have a ton of experience with the Dragon Quest series, but that does feel like what Dragon Quest is a lot of the time, frankly. Especially when the Pokemon start getting involved here. Weird, this game sort of reminds you a little of like if Mystic Quest wasn't made to be baby's first RPG. No, you're right. You're absolutely right, because there's so many... There's a lot of like map mechanics. You get special powers specifically to use on the map. There's puzzle solving. Dragon Quest isn't exactly involved. It does require a lot of buffing and debuffing. Oh. They're making sure you paid attention on that R button tutorial. Comic can have depth when it needs. I'm not treating every rare encounter like it could be my last. Yeah. That frankly gets exhausting. When you have to take every single battle really seriously. If you're gonna do a game like that, it needs to be paced like, you know, Final Fantasy Tactics, where each battle is a big, discrete set piece. The last thing I want, chat, is a game with random battles that have a ton of strategic depth. That's just gonna get really tedious really fast. I made it! Describing Shin Megami Tensei, and it does indeed get tedious. What the fuck was that? That earthquake is a pretty big one. My grandpa said the master catfish in a cave caused this earthquake. Is that true? The adults say that's wrong, but I believe my grandpa. Chat, I'm gonna give you a choice here. Do you want to go back to the magazine, or do you want to spend the next 30, 40 minutes of the stream getting further into Lufia 2? Because I'm fine either way, personally. This is enjoyable. Hands were up the whole time like a scaredy cat. Game still look kind of screams charm. It's a very pretty game. It is like that was one of the first things I noted right from the start. It looks way better than Lufia 1. Want to move home? Let's head back. Definitely see more, but I'm not invested in seeing more tonight. Okay, got it. Got it. I will keep this in mind for full playthrough material. Sounds good, chat. Sounds good. All right, so that's all the main text on here. There is the sidebar. Epic games that you don't want to miss. On Super NES, they list ActRaiser, Aerobiz Supersonic, Brain Lord, Breath of Fire, Dragon View, Evo, Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy III, what we now know as Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Illusion of Gaia, Link to the Past, Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, Metal Marines, Obitus, Populous, Robotrek, Secret of Mana, Seventh Saga, SimAnt, SimCity, Shadowrun, Star Trek The Next Generation, The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang, and Uncharted Waters, New Horizons. An interesting mix of titles. And on Game Boy, Final Fantasy Adventure, Final Fantasy Legend 1 through 3, Link's Awakening, and Ultima Runes of Virtue 2. Seem to recall a show up in Counselor's Corner pretty frequently once it's out. Probably would. The puzzles are tougher than you expect. Lufia 2 is one of the most shockingly improved RPG sequels of that generation, aside from like Dragon View. Dragon View is a pretty strong case, yeah. Though it's also a special case, considering how it came to be. Shin Megami Tensei fans can't decide whether SMT games are super complex and smart games that common gamers too stupid to appreciate, or whether they're actual simple and people who struggle with them are therefore stupid. The world's most insufferable Reddit. Alright. Moving on to Ogre Battle. Fight it out. You know what? I feel weird being over here on the left. I'm gonna warp back over here. Let's warp to the upper right. I think that'll be a nice, safe place to be for a while. Liberate your imagination. Ogre Battle from Enix fulfills an ancient prophecy that one day a game would appear for both RPG and strategy wargamers, and that forever after their homes would ring with the clash of swords and shake from the feet of marching armies. This fantasy becomes a reality today. Key art is very good, yeah. It's a neat style. It actually reminds me a fair bit of Final Fantasy Tactics house style. Not one for one, certainly, but the proportions of the characters and the prominent eyes in particular. Currently on a journey to beat every SMT game. I feel like I'm allowed to say that. Same artist? Oh, no kidding. Well, there you go, chat. For all of its gaming strengths, Ogre Battle suffers the fate of its warty namesake. Misunderstood like an ogre of yore, it makes a poor first impression. A hell of a thing to just come right out and say, Nintendo Power. But players who give the game a chance will find a gem beneath the scales. In Ogre Battle, players control units composed of up to 5 characters, including fighters, magic users, and monsters. Commanding units to liberate towns and defeat enemy units. You'll move from one province of the Zenobian Empire to another. 12 different endings and dozens of ways to progress through the game, chat. Lufia 2 is one of the most improved games, and then we got that Game Boy Color thing. What was with that? There's a Lufia in GBC? Picture yourself commanding a rebel army of beasts, knights, wizards, and giants. Beginning in the hinterlands, you'll skillfully move your pawns, honing their skills in battle against the powerful forces of the Zenobian Empire. But might of arms won't always win the day. You'll make difficult choices that affect your reputation, eventual outcome, and the eventual outcome war. I think you mean outcome of the war. Enemies may become friends, but treachery may lurk in the smiles of allies. If you're careless, your noble cause may end in the creation of a second evil empire with you sitting upon its dark throne. Ogre Battle is same composer, same writer, same director, same designer, same artist. Wow. Okay. How interesting that is. Having not played through Ogre Battle, I am I am somewhat familiar with some of the story beats and themes of it, and I can definitely see the common ground there. You know? Final Fantasy Tactics, in a very broad sense, is very much about how war is in no way straightforward. It is far from a simple battle between good and evil. And Ogre Battle really, really seems to encapsulate that. The outcome war, will consequences prevail, or are results supreme? Lufia GBC is odd, not bad. It has stuff like roguelike, randomly generated dungeons. Hilarious amount of playable party members. You have a playable party of 9 at once? Wow. Ogre Battle conflicts. Ogre Battle conflicts differ from most RPG battles, very restricted to player's input. Instead of choosing from one of dozens of attack or magic spells, you must place units strategically, use tarot magic cards, and bring items into play at critical moments. Typical battle begins when two units collide. The battle view shows both Rebel and Imperial forces facing each other. Each of your troops delivers a set number of hits or spells. When all competing troops have finished their moves, the game determines a winner in your turn to the overworld map. Be prepared to meet the same enemies many times. That's for damn sure. In battle, characters make as many attacks their positions allow. For instance, a knight attacks twice if he's on the front line, but only once if he's positioned the second row. I did not know that. Choosing the right tactic also helps, so sometimes the best choice is to run away. In Ogre Battle, unlike most RPGs, slaughtering the enemy isn't considered heroic. The people of Zenobia appreciate a fair fight. Battle system in Ogre Battle considers many factors, including the time of day, the terrain of the battlefield, and so on. Your concern is to fight the good fight. Units with high alignment should liberate towns, while units with low alignment should head off advancing enemies. Incidentally, low alignment units fight better at night. Keep a mix of strong and weak units active and let the weak units finish off enemies that have been depleted by strong units. In this way, the local people will grow to respect you. A lot of really complicated strategy in this chat. Like if you want to manage the rebellion's reputation properly, you got to consider a lot of factors here. Is it weird that I'm kind of surprised it got the big localization treatment at the time? Like, it's cool as hell that it did, but like, not the sort of game I expect to get Western push at the time, considering how Fire Emblem or Nintendo Advance Wars avoid localization at the time. So like, this is an Enix game. And I have to wonder if it's strange that Enix chose this over Dragon Quest V. Okay, I want to see something because I have a suspicion, I have a theory on how this went down, but I need some sales figures to back me up on this. Let's see. I'm looking for reception here. I'm on Wikipedia for this. Okay, although the series is extremely popular in Japan, the success in Japan was not replicated in North America until the 2005 release of Dragon Quest VIII. Despite the first 4 games to be released in America generally receiving good reviews, Nintendo had to give away copies of Dragon Warrior. However, those 4 games have been among the most sought-after titles for the NES. It was not until Dragon Warrior 7 was released that Dragon Quest became critically acclaimed in North America, although reception was still mixed. Sale. Yeah, I need US sale. I don't need to get deep into the weeds about this. What I'm suspecting, chat, what I think may have happened is that Enix pushed Dragon Quest real hard on the NES and did not find the commercial success they were looking for. So in the Super NES era, and also in light of the absolutely dominant success of the Final Fantasy series, they may have been more inclined to try like wilder shots, stuff that wouldn't compete as directly with the Final Fantasy series. Because if I if I was a biz dev guy at Enix at the time, yeah, I would have looked at NES Dragon Quest and been like, all right, Final Fantasy VIII our lunch on that. What else do we got? You know, I think that's why we got stuff like Ogre Battle and Robo Trek over the later Dragon Quests on Super Nintendo. It didn't necessarily work any better, but, you know, they tried 4 Dragon Quests on the NES, and it sounds like they did not find commercial success with any of them. After 4 tries, it's time for a new approach, frankly. So yeah, and delete characters from active units and from an active pool of characters in the edit screens. Creating the ideal mix of units won't be easy. You can say that again. You must balance strength with special requirements. Units composed of water characters may add to your effectiveness. They're useful only in limited areas. To get started, build up several strong units for fighting enemy leaders, and be sure to deploy a forest unit, mountain unit, flying unit, and water unit. Also include units with both high and low alignment ratings and several weak units for attacking low-end enemy units. I don't know if this is true for this one, but looking at it for its N64 sequel, the project manager saw it as a huge, huge passion project to get localized for the West and out there no matter fucking what. Okay. Yeah, there's never any accounting for passion projects. You know, we can try to rationalize the business decisions all we want, but if something is a passion project, nothing else matters. That game is going to happen come hell or high water because somebody is backing it hard enough. Tired just hearing the article. Ogre Battle 64 is a classic. Don't think it sold that well, though. Yeah, I missed most of the N64 era, so I've never played Ogre Battle 64. I do look forward to giving it a try at some point. I own this game, but I've never gotten very far in it. As interesting as the concept is, and as unique a game as this is, I do find the gameplay in this to be a bit tedious after a while. I don't love that your armies have to clash over and over and over and over again, you know? It's realistic in a sense. I get why they did that, but it's not a gameplay style that particularly appeals to me, you know? It's far more satisfying for me to have two armies clash and one just be obliterated. You know? That's a very satisfying approach. What are bears in FPS? Unicorn Overlord is much better about that. Is Unicorn Overlord has quite a bit to do in between battles? Pretty good game in general. Excellent game, really. Okay, I haven't looked into it at all. Interesting. Very interesting. Touch of class. All characters belonging to a class such as fighter, Amazon, or wizard. Most can improve themselves through hard work of rooting out evil. Once a character reaches a particular level of experience, he or she can move up to a stronger, more versatile class character. A fighter may become a knight, beastman, or even a wizard. Turn a knight with enough experience to become eligible for a paladin status. Eventually, you can become a vampire. Huh. Okay. I was unaware of that. The heart of every region lies a fortress from which the emperor's chosen governor commands his pawns. You destroy the leader, crush the empire's influence in the region. Don't expect to be easy. Sometimes the leader gives you a choice or tries to make a deal. Weigh the offer character. The interesting stuff, the really, really interesting part about Ogre Battle to me is the narrative element. When you can actually negotiate with characters to like join your rebellion or something. Look at that section in the lower right. Ah, yes, paladins traditionally become vampires to get stronger. Ogre Battle combines many of the best features of games like Populous, PTO, and Final Fantasy III. It's big, too. 100 hours plus. Epic Center Review gets you started. We'll serve up a second course soon. I know, I do remember this game is going to show up a lot in the magazine for a while because you probably gathered it's one that people are going to need a lot of help with. There are a lot of like subsystems and like hidden characters and encounters and stuff. You like one of those games. Like, this is interesting. This section up here about your reputation. The mystical-looking symbol in the upper right corner of the screen keeps track of your reputation, Zenobia. As the vertical bar rises, your reputation grows. You might ask who really cares as long as you get the job done. The people care. If you Rambo through the enemy units using a group of invincible warriors, the people won't respect you. Recruiting will become difficult, and more important to the game, you won't get the best ending of the 12 possible endings. Keep your reputation healthy by defeating enemies with your weaker units and by liberating towns using units with high alignment rating. Your rep can also be influenced by how you deal with game characters outside of battle. For instance, if you show mercy to Deneb the Witch, it may be taken as a sign of weakness. Rambo is one of the lesser known tarot cards. Couldn't finish as a kid either. I was hired as many dragons as I possibly could win bankrupt. Worth it! Yeah, I like there is so much you need to understand to succeed in this game. And credit to Nintendo Power, they do a pretty good job of breaking it all down. You know, describing how to use units of high alignments, units of low alignment, why to keep weaker units around and whatnot. Uh-oh, I'm checking out things out of line. Fortnite sexified Han Solo, as if he wasn't sexified already. Thinking I made the big success of Ogre Battle is that it gets very crunchy. It doesn't throw that in your face. Very playable even without a manual compared to something like Romance of the Three Kingdoms. That is true. That is true. You can just jump in and start moving units around the battlefield. And if you have the patience, you will eventually suss out what you need to do. You know, I've run through the early parts of Ogre Battle many times, and I am still not good at this game. I am demonstrably not good at this game. But I do understand a lot of the systems despite not having a manual for it and never really studying up on the discrete systems here. What happens when Matsuno's only exposure to strategy games for making this was literally Nobunaga's ambition at the staff's recommendation? Well, it led to something truly unique. Even now, we don't really have games in this style. I mean, there may be a reason for that. But I will always have a degree of respect for truly unique games, for unique visions and experiences. And Ogre Battle on SNES is absolutely that. So, not my favorite experience, not something that I think I'll ever manage to get through, but yeah. Ogre Battle is pretty famous for having non-obvious mechanics like Chaos Frame. It's easy to pick up and play, but you're not getting a good ending. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of space in future Nintendo Power issues are going to be devoted to that. Because people are going to have a shit ton of questions about, like, why couldn't I recruit this character? Or how does this battle work? Or why does everybody hate me after doing this? So it's very interesting as a historical footnote. I think it's a very interesting game to study. Possibly a more interesting game to study than to play. I'm very glad it exists, but yeah. Interesting stuff. Little icons are showing up on the left page are so funny to me. Okay, ho, up, oh. Yeah, it's okay, no, up okay, and okay. But yeah, the teeny tiny ice strainy pixel font does not help with that. Yeah. It's saying, yeah, what units are good for something and which ones are not, which one can be upgraded, so, yeah. Oh boy, let's talk about Secret of Evermore for the rest of the night, chat. This month, Workshop turns its focus to the development of Secret of Evermore, an adventure by Squaresoft. We visited the Square Crucible of Creation at the end of February, where the game development was still in full swing. Secret of Evermore has a fascinating backstory. Squaresoft thought they could get further market growth in the West by having Western developers create games in their style. But Secret of Evermore was terribly troubled. and had a very, very rocky development. Yep. Totally agree, as is Josh. Secret of Evermore is a really fun game. It's janky as shit. Yep. I did a full playthrough of this on the channel years ago at this point. And yeah, it's got a lot of really interesting ideas and really neat moments, but a lot of it is fucking rough. It really is. Why does that knight have hooves and a hand gripping a sword for a head? Love this game I played as a kid. Looked pretty lousy when you played it. I have that talent, Chad. I can make otherwise decent games look like absolute slogs. No, it's got rough parts. When you were a kid, this is a common phenomenon. When you were a kid, you just have a lot more patience for bullshit, like you do. There are games that I spent dozens of hours happily beating as a kid that I would rather die than play again now. This is not one of them. I do really like this game. But I will not sit here and tell you it is perfect. It is far from it, and it's got some real bullshit parts. I really appreciate it. I would have liked it was more successful. I would love to see more JRPG-style games with a Western flavor. I agree. It is a damn shame that this game had such a troubled development and didn't do particularly well. It is, if anything, a cult classic. And it would have been really, really... Like, how different would things have been if Squaresoft had a permanent development house in the United States cranking out games like Secret of Evermore? Like, if Evermore itself had become a franchise, if it got spin-off games, if they'd been able to explore other themes and styles and stuff. Like, very, very different company at that point. Squaresoft JRPGs have a long history of pre-fucked up monsters. 5 and the floating heads with their face ripped off. 7's entire bestiary. It's true, it's true. I mean, we saw a bunch of really weird-ass shit in Final Fantasy VI with their Baroque art style. There's some pretty horrifying things in that. Back in the 90s, there weren't a lot of alternatives. You put up some extreme bullshit and you enjoyed it. Indeed, yeah. I mean, if you know, kids would get... I mean, I would only get like 1 or 2 games a year, really. And if it was too hard, if I had some frustrating parts, I would power through that, because it wasn't like I was getting another game instead. Sucks to miss Trials and Mana back in the day. From their perspective, today we have Evermore and Trials, so I guess it worked out. I agree with that, yeah. I agree with that. And you gotta wonder, because Trials... The little bit of Trials that I have played, it is surprisingly different from Secret of Mana. I have to wonder how successful Trials would have been if the original SNES version had launched here. You can certainly, I think you could certainly make a case it would be more successful than Secret of Evermore, but I don't know. I don't know. Trials of Mana was when you discovered emulation for the first time. Nice. Different a little than Mayweather's same game. Ties back to Doom 2016. Where you were talking about spending a few minutes after combat looking for shit. That's basically what you end up doing with the dog here. Also true. Yeah, you need those alchemy ingredients. Also, sometimes the dog can dig up really, really important stuff. Like crazy important stuff. So yeah. And emulation via your brother's friend in Metroid. I got into emulation, ironically enough, I got into emulation to play the Final Fantasies that didn't make it here, 2, 3, and 5. And then I didn't actually play them. I set up emulation originally to play those Final Fantasies, and then I got a hold of the wider library and found a bunch of other stuff I'd rather sink my time into. Ironically enough. I feel like a lot of me is like that. I can't remember the first time I watched a movie and thought this is bad. It was certainly in your teenage years. Played Fire Emblem Gaiden for the first time in an emulator and some shady Flash game site making. Remember the tech nerds running an SNES emulator in the gear at the school computer lab was fascinating. I am from the era of Nesticle. My first emulation experience was trying to run Final Fantasy 2 and 3 and make any fucking sense out of them on Nesticle. I still remember that scrotum icon prominent on my desktop. I was gonna bring up fucking Nesticle. Final Fantasy V would later know his trials eventually went down the Shiren rabbit hole. Western team behind some Japanese games reminds me of Mario 64 Classified, which is a creepypasta YouTube series. Imagine Mario 64 is developed by a US dev branch of Nintendo, making each copy of Mario 64 personalized. Played a bunch of Star Ocean 2, and I think a lot of versions of that game would crash at the drop of a hat. It was rough. Yeah, early emulation days, especially with the Super NES. I remember trying to play Legend of the Mystical Ninja on Super NES, on a Super NES emulator, and it couldn't do layers correctly. So there's a place late in the game where you're going up an elevator that is actually in the background, where it wouldn't render anything that was going on your layer. It would only render the foreground. And that was basically unbeatable, because that elevator section was actually pretty tough, even when you could see shit. Oh, do you remember when emulators turned ROM audio into legit PC MIDIs because no one knew how to emulate audio yet? Yes, I do. I do. I remember when emulation was the Wild West and people were just kit bashing whatever they could do together. ZSNES had the layering problem a lot. That was the one I used, yeah. I had Nesticle and ZSNES, and I did what I could with them. There were some serious layer issues with Final Fantasy V at the time. I'm trying to remember. Emulation for the longest time was more of a curiosity for me than anything. I think having so many games at my disposal and having them available for the first time, like, you know, high school and college, when, I mean, we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s, when, you know, PC gaming is popping off with all kinds of crazy advancements. I think I didn't really have the patience to sit down and play through these old games that I kind of always wanted to, but once I had the opportunity, it was like, is this really the best use of my time? Obviously, since we are here, I've come all the way around on that, and now I do see the value in playing these old games again. It'll be PS1 emulation. I never got EPSXE working. Yeah, I remember trying. I think it was Bleem. I think it was. I think I remember dinking around with a friend's copy of Bleem and just being like, I don't know what's going on here. Got kicked in the gut of nostalgia playing an old JRPG fan translation. The opening credits showing "Don't play this on Nesticle." A lot of games are kind of abandonware for a long time. Simulation or paying ridiculous price for your only options. Very true, yes. Very, very true. I mean, now, as, you know, Nintendo is doing an objectively good thing, bringing games to the Nintendo Online service, and a lot of games that either, you know, well, a lot of games that weren't published in the West, too. But for every game they bring to Nintendo Online, or for every game that a publisher remembers they have and they release a new version of it on Steam or whatever, there are dozens that are just lost to the sands of time. So that's why I feel like doing stuff like the Power Hours is very important, you know? Even, you know, Secret of Evermore is not available anywhere, is it? Unless they brought it to the Nintendo Online service when I wasn't paying attention, I don't think there's actually any way to play Secret of Evermore outside of emulation, right? And I mean, it's absolutely 100% a game deserving to be played. It's a very, it's the toaster dog game. Exactly, Chaos. Remember Final Fantasy Tactics cost only $150 before the re-release? It was insane. It was $2,000, yeah. Did Sega CD for a bit because I always wanted to play Snatcher. I remember the old Let's Play of Snatcher back on Something Awful. That was pretty eye-opening. Tell you what got you real deep in emulations, early YouTubers. Shtick was Let's Plays of Japan exclusive stuff. Exposed to your fans' translations alongside Smash Brother Melee's trophies. Saying what games the character came from, and so many of them saying only released in Japan. It's still eye-opening to me to realize how many games never made it here. Just the sheer volume of strange and unique RPGs on the Super Nintendo that never made it here is utterly captivating to me. Traverse, chat. I am haunted to this day by knowledge of Traverse. Someday, one way or another, we're gonna play through that game. My entertaining emulator story is I got a copy of Project 64 working because someone left a USB drive with it behind at my school. And somehow you didn't get a virus from that. Something like 70 or 80% of games are estimated to not be in print. I think one of the section titles here is just Mog in America. Everything has to come back to Final Fantasy 3. What we now know is Final Fantasy 6. Realizing Metal Gear NES was not the original Metal Gear got you doing MSX2 emulation. Yeah, that was mind blowing. That was well, for me growing up with Nintendo Power, I knew Metal Gear, and I knew Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge, both on NES. And it wasn't until so long, it wasn't until so long after that I learned that wasn't even the real Metal Gear 2. And I was like, holy shit. One day I'll actually play Traverse and it'll wind up intolerable 2 hours. But those will be a magical 2 hours, Satellite. Usually haunted by Traverse. Although, I'm gonna be honest, once I started playing fan-translated SAS JRPGs, it became quickly obvious why nobody bothered to bring some of them over. Yeah, I mean, I harbor no illusions that we're gonna find, like GOAT SNES games out there that just didn't make it here because of the cruel whims of fate. I am fully willing to commit to playthroughs of these random obscure games and punch out of them when they become too grindy or too obtuse or anything like that. Video game periodicals were the shit back in the day, including Nintendo Power. Amen to that. My physical Nintendo Powers are like 100+ issues are over on my shelf over here. I used to have a shitload of PC Gamers from the mid-90s. Unfortunately, I got rid of those. But yeah. You can find a lot of shit that never made it over here too, yeah. Most of the good SNES games made it here, unlike the Sega Saturn, yeah. Sega Saturn's a fascinating story that I've Chad has been educating me on that since I was such a Nintendo kid. I don't know all that much about the inside baseball of Sega, but yeah, learning that the Sega CD was actually, the Saturn. Learning that the Saturn was actually a pretty big deal in Japan and just got totally sabotaged here. That was pretty surprising, so. Anyway, chat, we have engaged in so much good conversation tonight that I think the Secret of Evermore feature is gonna have to wait until next week, because it is closing time around here at GPG. I need to get some rest because tomorrow's gonna be a pretty big day. My daughters have a cheerleading performance and a piano recital on the same day. So we're gonna be up and busy and doing that stuff tomorrow. Also, it's Mother's Day, so gotta do something for that. Secret of chatting more. Saturn bombed out so hard in the US is fascinating. It is, yeah, it absolutely is. Do them simultaneously. So yeah, schedule reminder, tomorrow night, no stream. I don't stream on Sunday anyway. So don't expect me here or anything. Monday, we are back to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Maybe we'll unravel the final secrets of Bogano. Probably not. We'll probably just head back off to Kashyyyk and on to other planets beyond. I imagine we'll be on Fallen Order Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's my guess. We will be here. We will talk about Secret of Evermore next Thursday. Okay? And the Power Hours will continue into Saturday. And then next Friday, I don't know. We'll see how next week shakes out. We'll do something next Friday. And reminder, I will remind y'all of this periodically. Next week's gonna be a normal schedule, but the week after, I am not gonna be streaming on Friday or Saturday. I'm gonna be on vacation those days. So there'll be no variety night and one fewer Power Hours. Not next week, but the week after. So keep that in mind, Chad. Buttress your feelings. Buttress them well. But for now, let's go find somebody to raid. See who's up. I think tonight... Ooh, how about we hit up Big Sig tonight? He is playing Liza P for the first time. How interesting. I do hope he is enjoying that. Let's see if he is. Jumping that cliff. Alright. Anyway, chat. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for joining me for another eventful evening of the Power Hours. We didn't play that much tonight, but we did discuss a lot. And what we did play was pretty notable. Lufia 2 is now squarely on my radar. And I'll be keeping that in mind when considering older JRPGs to play. So... You won on that count, chat. Well done. Good stuff. But thanks again for coming out. Hopefully, I will see you all on Monday for the continuation of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But until then, as always, y'all take care. Bye, everybody.